Hello guys, welcome once again. In the last few videos, I have been showing you how to make a registration page in ASP.NET and how to link it with the database. Now in this video, I will show you how to make a login page which verifies the username and password from the database and then redirect you to the secure access page which you want to show after the login. So let's get started by creating the login page first of all. So I will go to my project, right click it, and I will say add new item, and it will show me this dialog box. I will choose web form and I will say this is my login form. So login.aspx, and I will say add, and once again this is a blank form, so I will say this will be my login page, and I can change the font also. First of all, I make it bold, and I will say this should be extra large, 36 pt. Okay, and I can also change the justification or justify center, so this will always be in the center. Now we are having our heading. Now we will add a table to our page, so I will say insert table. This time also we will take 3 columns, and let's take 4 rows and click OK. And first of all, I will say user name. Second row will be password, and okay, for now we are okay with this. So I will select this and this, both the rows, and I will say justify right. Now I will go to my standard toolbox and I will take a text box here and text box for the password. Okay, now I have both the text boxes. I select both text boxes and I will say width is equal to 180 px. Property is wrong because this should be 0. Okay, now this is done. Now I will take a validation tool. This thing I have also shown you in the registration form, so I will just make it a little bit faster. I will take a required field validator 1 and 2, and I will change the text. So I will go select my required field validator and I will change the error message as please enter user name, and second error message is please enter password. Okay, now I have both the things. I will change first of all the ID of this text box so I know which text box I'm talking about. First text box name is username, text box username, and second text box ID is text box password. Okay, now I'm done with that. I will link my required field validator with this text box, so I will select my required field validator and I will say control to validate, and I will choose text box username from here. And second required field validator for password, I will choose control to validate, will be my text box password, and here I will select my password field and I will say the text mode of this is password, so your character doesn't show. Once this is done, I will take a button from my standard toolbox, and I will say this will be my login button, and I will change also the ID button underscore login. Okay, so now we are ready with our login page. You can just also change the font size of these two also. So I will select my required field validator. I will go to the font color, and I will say red. Okay, now this is done. Once your login page is designed, just click your login button and double click it. And first of all, I will add here using system.data.sql client. Okay, and second is I will add second namespace as system dot configuration. Okay, now once you are done with that, let's try and write the code for this button login click event. So for that, what I will do is whatever code I have written for the registration page for the database connection, I will copy and paste it here also, because it will be the same, more or less same, not exactly same. So I will just copy whatever I have written in page load event. Okay, I'm not copying button click event code which I have written for database, but I'm copying this page load event, and except or inside this if is postback condition. So I will copy this. I will go through the code also, so don't worry if you haven't seen it. And I will go to my login.aspx.cs form, and I will paste my code here. Let me make it a little bit wider and bigger so you will be able to see it. So first of all, I will just declare my SQL connection. Con is equal to new SQL connection, and I will say as an argument I will pass configuration manager dot connection strings, and in the square bracket I'm passing my registration connection string, which this is the connection string from the my database. If you have some confusion, you can see my previous videos and you will be able to know what this registration connection string is. And after the square bracket, just write dot connection string and close the bracket. And now we will open our connection with the database. So write con.open, and in the next line we prepare our query. So I will write string check user is equal to, and this is the query which we have. Let me open this server explorer so we will see the database also at the same time. So I will write here select count, and in the bracket I will say stars from my table name. So this is my table name from the database, where username is equal to, now it will take some time to open. So what I wanted to show you in the solution explorer, that we have made this table called user data in our earlier videos, and it has 5 columns: ID, username, email, password, and country, right? So what query I'm writing is select count in the bracket star from my table name, which is this, where username, which is this column name, is equal to whatever I enter in the username text box. So now my username text box is a little bit different in the login form. So I will select my username text box and I will copy my text box ID and I will paste it here. So it will remove the error. So write where username is equal to single quote in between double quote plus plus, and then write this text box dot text. Okay, and in the next video I will prepare a command. So I will write SQL command which is com, the object name is equal to new SQL command, and I will pass my query as a first argument, and second argument is the connection with the database. Now I will write int temp is equal to convert dot to int32, and the argument write com, which is this com dot execute scalar dot toString, and I will close my connection. Okay, and earlier what we were doing is, if the user already exists, then we say user already exists. Okay, now this time what we will do is, inside this temp is equal to 1, we will write the code once again for verifying the username and password. So let's try and code the user login code. So what I will write here is, first of all I will open the connection once again. So I will write con.open, and in the second line I will make my query. So I will write string, I will say check password query, for example long name is equal to double quote and semicolon, and in here I will write the query. I will say select password from my table name, which is user data, where my username is equal to whatever I enter in the text box. So I will copy just the same code and I will paste here instead of this. Okay, so my query looks like this, and in the next line what I will do is, I will just copy this SQL command and I will paste it here, and instead of this query I will just replace this query by this, and I will change the command name. So I will say pass com. Now okay, this is done. Now what I will do is, I will write in the next line string, because we are verifying the string, and then we will say password is equal to, and then I will say, I will copy my password command dot execute scalar and bracket dot to string. Okay, once this is done, then it will pass your password in this string from this query. So whatever username you write here in the text box, it will search in the database and it will find the password, and then it will give you in this string, because we are saying the select password from the user table, right? Okay, now in the next line we will verify the password from the password which user has entered in the password text box. So what I will do is, I will give a if condition, if, and let me close the brackets, and I will say if my password, which is this password, is equal to the password which user has entered. So I will just select my password text field, and I will copy my ID for the text field for the password, and then I will say text box password dot text. So if this password matches the password which user has entered, that means our password is correct, right? So here we will say response dot write, and we will say password, first of all double quote, and then I will say password is correct. Okay, so once this is done, we know that our password is correct, right? And if this is not the case, then we will write else I will give the response password is not correct, right? So I will just copy response dot write, and I will say password is not correct. And after this if condition, where we have written if temp is equal to 1, we will say here also else, and we will make a bracket, and here also we will give the response that if username is not present, so you say username is not correct, so I will write username is not correct. Okay, so once this all is done, let me make a new session also after the login is correct. Your login is correct, just write session and the square bracket write new is equal to, and whatever is your text box for the username id is, so text box username dot text. Okay, so now this is done. I think this will work. This code is now done, so let's try and run the program. So I will run my program from here, or I will go to my login page and I will right click it, and I will say view in the browser. So right click and view in browser, and I will say yes, I want to save the data, and it opens my login page. Hopefully no error occurs. Okay, so there is no error. Let me see what data I have in the database. So I will go to my solution explorer, I will right click my table and say show table data. It will show me the data which is there in the table. So I have username admin, and with respect to the admin I have the password 12345. So let me enter this username admin. So I will write admin and the password is 12345, and I will say login, and it's saying password is not correct. Why it's saying this? I have observed sometimes when you enter your username and password, it this string password has some spaces, unwanted spaces which you don't want. So just write here string password is equal to password dot execute scalar dot toString, and just write after this toString dot write replace, and what we are going to replace is we are going to replace all the single spaces with no space, right? So just write double quote and give a space, and in the second argument just write no space. Okay, now once again right click and view in the browser. Yes, and this time I will say my username is admin and password is 12345. Why it's not entered? I will say 12345 and I will say login, and now you can see my password is correct. Okay, so sometimes this phenomena comes. If this phenomena comes, you need to replace all the spaces with no spaces. Okay, let's try some other username and passwords, for example Mark, which have the same password. Let's try it for this, Julie and 4 times 3. Okay, let's try username and the password 3333, and I will say login, and he says password is correct. Let me enter the wrong password, so I will enter some random password and I will log in, and this time it says password is not correct. Let me not enter anything in the password field, and it says please enter the password. When I enter nothing in the username, it says please enter the username. What next you can do is, one more thing you can do, if your password is correct, you can redirect your user to the new page. So for example, I will write response dot redirect, and for example, this is an example. I will create, or you can create a new page which is exclusively for the login user. So I will say double quote and select any page, for example manager. So I'll write manager dot aspx, and let me try and run the program once again. View in browser, and username is admin, password is 12345, and when I log in it will lead me or redirect me to the new page. So let's try, and you can see there is manager page. So in this page you can design your own data, which the only login user can see. Okay, so now I have shown you how to log in, create a login page, and how to log in with the verification of username and password.